Welcome everyone. This is the next Craft Choreography online, the second edition, and today we have 4 amazing artist groups. We have DUONUX from Italy, we have Jasmine Ellis from Canada with Laja Martin from the USA. They create a short movie together. We have Yotam Peled from Israel, but he is based in Europe. And we have also Nika Jankovic with Arian Sajina. So I don't know, I'm pretty amazed with the program because these are highly physical work. As you know, they have been applying from all over the world, and I don't know how many applications did we have, but something around 200, and somehow we had to make the selection and somehow we ended up with those pieces. So I guess they're pretty good. Thank you so much for taking part in this. As I said, some of you are more established. I heard your names before. Some of your names I haven't heard. Some of you are my friends. So, Arian, I'm so happy for you to be here. Nika is unfortunately still in the rehearsal, so we cannot have her. I guess Laja Martin is
I think they're trying to join, but maybe they just need another minute. We'll see if they show up.
And Christian, and I guess your partner is also busy.
Rehearsal, yes.
Yeah, got it. So, having that said, I think that the whole event tends to circle around the topic of lockdown or being locked. I have the feeling that Yotam, you've been locked inside of your body of sorts. So did Arian. Maybe that's more like movement-wise. I have this feeling when I watch this thing. And of course, obviously, the topic of the work of Ellis is as well lockdown. And you guys, Christian, I guess there tends to be one force locking another force in the space. So maybe the first thing I would like to ask you is, what's the actual inspiration behind the piece? Like, what drove you to make the work? And maybe I should ask with Christian, because yeah, because why not? Alphabetic order.
Okay. Hello. Well, actually, it's like autobiography work, and we try like to explain what happened to us in a certain time, and so we are like kind of like everybody in some point of our life try to give like a big change, a cut, to start again and to have like possibility to start rebuild life. And some point what happened that you are you have to choose what to do, so everything is new, so you have to start all over again. And there's like this point of there's like this time where there's like emptiness, everything is new, everything, so it's like you have to rebuild your structure. So that's why we work on we try to translate this kind of state of mind with the liquefaction. So that's the quality, like the movement quality of the piece. And in the scene we are the same person, so we she's like the visible one, and I'm more inner, like the inner part of her. And she's tried to build something, but like she's like actually she's walking under this sweet rain, but at some point this rain becomes very toxic, so they destroy her and make her feel like more feel the ground. And from there she needs something stronger that will bring herself up again. So I try to restruct body and mind and soul to connect to herself also, and to face the reality and start all over again. I don't know if I try explain correctly, if I was clear enough.
Yeah, I think what is also really interesting in your work is that it. Oh, Laja is here. Sorry. Hi, here you go. I let you in. Laja. So I find it interesting because for me it connects to a little bit like some kind of mythological. Hi, Laja. Mythological pictures. So I'm always like when I look at your work, I have to think about, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's weird, but I have to think about labyrinth. I have to think about some Greek mythology that comes in, and like there is this I don't know, maybe it's just because there's this clear image of manipulation, but it evokes for me images of of this very big forces of one controlling the other one and so on. Jasmine, can you tell me, or Jasmine and Laja, if you could tell me more about your process in general, because I feel this is the work that you've been doing is a part of a bigger piece, and I don't know anything about this bigger piece, so maybe you can tell me like how did it came about, and like when did you start working on it, because it's like you had a piece pretty fast, like when the lockdown starts, and it's called Lockdown, so I'm wondering how is it for you?
So the film is just a small section of a stage piece that Laja and Martin have, and so she can tell you about like the stage piece, and then I can tell you a little bit about why we made it into a short film.
Do you guys hear me? I don't have a little microphone thing. Good? Okay. Yeah, Martin and I made this first piece that kind of then evolved into this bigger half an evening length that we made called Pinot Noir. And it kind of sourced from a natural place of relationships and the tension that happens, and sometimes this in the middle of a fight or in the middle of anything, how your mind can kind of wander and you can end up somewhere else, or even hope that you are somewhere else, or anything that kind of can take you out of this reality. And just the multifaceted layers that happen between any relationship. It doesn't even have to be a love relationship. So that was the beginning of that process, and then it transformed into something else. It was interesting how we got together because Jasmine had actually invited us for teaching, and then we had met Ray, and it felt like maybe we could make a cool project together. And I think we stayed up till, I don't know, 2-3 a.m. filming in this cool space. So I feel like that project just came out pretty naturally. We didn't even come with the intention of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd seen you, we'd met a couple years before at Springboard, and I had like seen you guys and the work you were making, and then you said you were making even more work together, and you were in Munich, so I just kind of wanted to like take advantage and play this game of see what we could capture on camera. So yeah, we just shot it in one night in the office after they had spent the day teaching, and
So
put
much
it
wine.
together. So much wine and so many takes that they had to drinking. But yeah, it was really interesting because we shot it actually before the lockdown. And then when we were editing it, it was during the lockdown. And it made me think about how relationships are being tested in a new way during the lockdown with the confinement. So I thought it would be interesting to maybe use that as a title, even though originally the choreography didn't come from like during COVID times.
Yeah, I think it's a really and difficult topic, I guess. I mean, I haven't experienced that, but I imagine that this could be a really difficult topic if you have to suddenly spend time together and you're not used to uh, have it. I think, I mean, what I like very much about your work is that you can, like, it's so clear with the intention that you like. The problem with contemporary dance often tends to be that it's somehow misunderstood. So there's a lot of some kind of gestures, or a lot of some kind of hidden meanings or movement language that is not normal, that is not like for people to really understand. And they always tell, like, after a performance, oh, I don't understand what it was about, right? This is then the main comment to contemporary dance, I have the feeling. But I guess with sometimes if you work in the area of physical theater, it somehow bridges the gap, where it's like you can finally build a language where it is it seems like it's something that a normal person, like a person from the street, as we call them, could grasp. So I think that is really important, and I like that you do a work also that it is very poetic, but it's also understandable, and also this short format makes it even more understandable. So I guess, guys, good job on that level.
I agree with you. I think one of the things that I really like about the work that they do is it's very clearly storytelling. It's storytelling for the audience. So as somebody coming in, I feel like what's being created is for my benefit as a viewer. And I think that that makes it really like approachable. And then of course, sticking it in like a film format, short form, makes it even more accessible, even though I would highly recommend going and seeing the full length version, because being in the space with them is not the same. You know, it's just like another level to be there while they're doing what they do so well.
I appreciate that, Jasmine. Thank you. Also cool to hear that it feels that it translates that way, because I think something that feels really important to us is to not make it simple or dumb it down for an audience. Your audience is very smart, but sometimes people do need a bit of just a hand extended to them. I kind of take you on this journey, and then maybe I can go into the abstract, or then I can go into the surreal. But if I've given you some kind of basis, so you feel I can relate to this, I've done this in my life, I have sat on that couch too, so that you also feel this person is not beyond me, I can't relate to them, they're so heroic, in a way that I think sometimes dance people feel, not that they don't get it, but almost that they can't relate. And so I think they often use that narrative, like, I don't get it. And it's interesting that you brought that up, because that was kind of a catalyst for Martin to create work that felt more, had some kind of theater to it, because we felt that that gave more of a character and more of this grounding of a real person. And we felt people could kind of see themselves through that and then go on this journey. And then of course, working with Johannes really influenced, I think I was all about movement before that. And I kind of thought dance theater was ridiculous. And then he just opened up a new world to me, and it felt like a gateway into actually maybe we can connect with people off the street a little bit more and make them feel like they belong in the theater. You don't have to have a dance degree. You don't have to be super intellectual. Anybody, this work can be for anyone. So I think we feel strongly about making work like that for people.
Yeah, I think this is also like, because I also am really drawn into doing like something, maybe, I don't think it's very abstract, but you could like in the normal terms define it as an abstract work. But then I realized that if I want to share it with my friends, it's often, and not only, you know, the ones that are already advanced in their perception of dance, that if I want to share it with my friends that maybe are like looking at Marvel movies and you know, looking at the culture of every day, and they are interested in culture and they want to appreciate movement, but they feel like, as I said, like they don't have a dance degree in order to understand it. But I think that really there's an opportunity for such a wonderful segue, so I will use it. So speaking of not having a dance degree, Arian.
Hi.
Wonderful to have you on board. Can you tell me a little bit more about the process, because you are you have been collaborating with Nika, yes, but you yourself are a breakdancer, and then but then you have all these horizons that are open, and then I always find the world of breakdance a little bit I don't know, very
Narrow-minded.
I didn't want to use that word, but
Yeah, you can.
tends to be close. So how do you find your way? Like how is it that you end up on stage, and how do you feel being on stage? What does it? And then
Yeah,
tell
okay,
us
let's
something
start
about the piece too.
with the process. Yeah, I mean, so the thing was that just Nika and I had the like I knew Nika before, and there was an opportunity we both found time and opportunity to do something together. So that was the trigger. We weren't sure from, like, there wasn't a project to start with what we're gonna do. There was just the opportunity. So we got in a studio together, and then what we came up was that we were interested in just how we can use the body, or how we can put the body in certain frames and see how it, you know, what its expressive abilities are when it's not perceived as a human body per se, or, you know, you don't necessarily see the face, or so you have to relate to other parts of the body. You know, how much can you tell by just seeing the, you know, the backside of the hand or the head, or so. And starting from this thought, we then try to build like bodies or characters and put them in these frameworks, and then build like a small narrative, and see how they can move and express on their own, and then also how we can try to like find transitions between them that are not abrupt, because after all, it is like the performer, me, is creating these bodies as I moved. So it was also how we can, if we can transition between them without having an like abrupt change. And so this was the process. It was just finding certain frames, like the, you know, hand on the ground, just simple rules, and then seeing how far can you go just from this simple framework. And we worked from that and had, I think, three showings in total, with different with different time formats. So we also adjusted. And I mean, I would definitely like to revisit the piece again at some point. But yeah, it was fun, and yeah, I definitely felt good on the stage. And as far as breaking and narrow-mindedness goes, I think, yeah, I mean, I just yeah, at some point I started doing open classes in contemporary dance and, you know, improv techniques, and that kind of just, I mean, it enriched my breaking as well, but also like widened my horizon. And so since then, when I have the opportunity, I like to, you know, investigate other disciplines. And this project with Nika was such an opportunity, and I was happy to work on it.
Do you think you will go more in the direction of dance? I always ask you because I know you study maths.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope I will find time to, like, I don't know, like the latest resolution I have with myself is that I would be happy to work on like at least one project a year. Or yeah, I would, you know, for me the perfect team would have, you know, would to have a couple of weeks a year where I can, you know, focus on one thing and have a you know, a process and research a certain thing with dance and theater, and then present. And, you know, I think that's the, with the current studies, that's the most I can imagine. But I would be happy with that. I mean, I definitely want to, you know, well, keep dancing obviously, but also try to do some theater work if any opportunities arise. Yeah.
So guys, Laja, Yotam, Christian, you heard that. If you're looking for a talent, guys, right there. Yotam, can you tell me a little bit more about your work? Because you come from a place of, I would say, how would we call it? It's a very sensitive and very personal work. At least it looks like this. So I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about this.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. This is the first work I created for myself, I would say. It was 4 years ago. And you talked a little bit about dance theater and narratives. So I like to work with storytelling, but I'm also not so much interested in realistic representations. I often dive in to a sensation or a state. I think in this piece it was a transition part in my life. I moved from Israel to Germany to Berlin. There was a certain softening inside of me that happened. The space and the culture and the perception of gender and sexuality are very different between Israel and Germany, and especially in Berlin. And I think since it was my first work, I just started with myself and what I'm going through, and very intuitively tried to find sensations, images, a certain language that I felt was resonating with what I was going through. So it was kind of I would say, a mixture of sequences that are very disciplined. I would say things I experienced or felt while, let's say, my army service, and how they can melt into my experience in a club, in the dance floor. And so, yeah, I look at it, I still perform it today, even though I moved on to other works. And for me, it's always a kind of a ritual. When I perform it, it's very intense. I don't know how to do it any other way. So my storytelling would be in some way to just be very present in the performance and to include whatever I'm going through. I don't think there is a specific dramaturgy or a narrative, a beginning or an end, but I just let myself kind of have that space. That kitsch of the boys don't cry, that was very intuitive back then. I often, when I think about it, I'm a bit ashamed of it. It's like a tattoo you make and you look at it like a few years later being like, oh, what did I do? But I quite like that kitsch because it kind of reminds me of that very naive place that I should allow myself when I perform. It's very vulnerable, it's very exposed. Often when I finish performing it, in a very weird state, kind of cathartic. And this is something I believe in dance in general, relating to the discussion we had before about engaging with an audience, contemporary languages. Then I don't feel that there has to be a clear story or a narrative or clear gestures, but the work has to be immersive. It has to be exposed. It has to be open. I'm not there when I perform or when I create to suggest or to tell someone anything. I'm more kind of, in a way, expanding my skin or making it kind of making myself available when I perform. Yeah.
But you do succeed. So you do succeed to communicate the feeling. So there is not the feeling of, one more time, locking down yourself to the audience. So I think that's good, and it doesn't always have to be, of course, a physical theater. I just said physical theater because it's a storytelling that is understood, but I think on a certain level all of the pieces that we had today can be totally perceived and understood by any kind of audience. And I think that's also a bit of a key that I was searching for in looking at the pieces, that we have something that we can, that we can approach the normal people who are also not only like the super sophisticated dance audience. Like that's not the only people that we should care about, I feel. But yeah, I feel that your work is quite it's quite approachable. Like it's very, like, it's because, you know, it could be a guy that is, you know, having his feelings, but it's not just a guy that having his feelings. Like the feelings, they touch me when I look at it. So I think this transfer of your emotion into the emotion of the observer. I think uh, that's not always happening. You know, that's not always the given when the dance is happening. So that's why I think the work is quite amazing.
Maybe I can elaborate things. I can elaborate just a minute or two more about this. The work in Berlin tends, or in general, I feel in Western Europe, but especially in Berlin, are cities that have I would say the dance is very institutionalized and academic, but there tends to be a lot of theoretical work behind contemporary dance. And I think it's beautiful because it pushes us to try new things and find new platforms. But I also think that sometimes, yeah, we forget the presence, we forget performing, and we forget where it starts from. The need to dance, I feel, is a very communal need. It's a need to be together and to share something physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, but it starts from a need to experience and share and manifest something together. And this is how I was drawn into dance, again, from clubs, from the dance floor. And I think even if we look at ancient forms of dance and rituals, they go there. It's not about someone having a great idea and working 3 months alone in a cave and then coming and exposing it with his tribesmen and all of a sudden making a perfect dance. And I think especially now when technology is kind of advancing and during Corona, when we are isolated, as you chose lockdown to be the topic, I feel that it's very tempting that dance becomes more and more theoretical and alienated and digital, like we even experience it now. But I think it's still very important for me that the work is creating an immersive space, not just for me, but for the audience. And yeah, often when I finish performing, I wish it would become a party to deal with the emotions somehow, that it's not like, we close the book and we go home, but we get to work with it somehow.
I totally feel you on that. I wish also, like, that it always will be more of like a Dionysian kind of spectacle, rather than, those very intellectual sitting in front and analyzing what he actually meant or she meant, like exactly knowing everything and knowing the references, and totally, because like the moment you start thinking, then I mean, in my opinion, that's just my opinion, the moment you start thinking, you know that something is going already wrong. Like if you have enough time to think in a performance, then you're like, then you're probably already wandering off. Like you're probably disconnecting with the observer. Sometimes the moment of stillness is great. Yes, I agree. But sometimes if there's too much of this thinking, then I'm like, although I have to say, I always come up with great ideas while watching performances that I have a lot of time to think. So there's always a good in that, but somehow I like to be drawn into, I like to be in this more cathartic state when I'm also watching. So I could imagine that any of your works could bring that.
Which feels sometimes great to be able to work with dancers and still have some kind of connection, but also bizarre to be in masks and to be 15 feet apart, trying to like really keep distance to make sure. And so it's kind of a tryout to see if this kind of like life can work. So that'll be on August 6th. We'll have a virtual premiere. But no, it's going to be a long road over here back to normal, unfortunately. If anyone from the States is watching, please wear your mask.
Do you think, because I mean, you have terrible leadership, that's for sure, but do you think it helps for people to, because you had all these protests right now, and I'm wondering, what do you think about like generally protesting in times like this? Like, I understand there's so much anger coming and so on, but like it's a bit because you're talking about wearing masks. But I think it's the worst thing you can do is go on the street and meet in a huge crowd. So I'm wondering, what is your take on it?
I think that the issues that we face of systemic racism in our country are just as much as a health crisis as COVID is. And so I think that even the CDC came out with a statement saying that they still support the protests, because if we can't even have a country where the system and the system that is there to serve and protect and to help its people is literally killing the people and oppressing the people, and we're talking about Black, Indigenous, people of color. So that is actually then more important to fight for and continue to fight for, because we've never had this kind of real dealing with what's going on. It's always swept under the rug. We don't have an education that actually teaches us the true reality of what has happened, and we also put it all the way back 400 years ago, and the fact is that it just transformed. All of that oppression and everything that is keeping people down and literally killing people has continued. So I think that, you know, all of the Black Lives Matter movement has expressed huge concern for COVID. You have to wear a mask at the protest. At least people are outside. So I think while a lot of people like to take the narrative that the reason why we have so many cases is because of all the protests, if you look at New York, for example, they are so down because everybody stayed home, quarantined, and they have a pretty good leadership, actually. And you see all of these protests happening in New York, and they've been constant, and their cases are still declining. So it's actually not about that. It's about the people who are choosing not to wear a mask at all because it is their right to not. So then we also have a problem in America because of personal liberty, which puts the individual higher than the collective. So we have an issue with being able to sacrifice ourselves for the greater good. Not everybody, of course, but you know, you see this sect of America that is very out there and very, for me, blindly leading into one notion without any care for anyone else's story or anyone else's reality. So that is kind of what is preventing us from getting this down. And also a leadership that will not take any actual action, true action. If we had taken it from the very beginning, we could also maybe be in the place where I'm watching my other friends in other countries be. So it's disappointing, but I fully support the protests, and I think that they need to keep happening because we've never reckoned with the huge systemic racism that is plaguing our country. So I think that it's really necessary for it to keep coming out. We got a little political there.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. I
Part of our reality right now.
I think that was really well spoken, though. That was like
I
well
think
done.
that's the only way to know about like how it is right there is to be there. I think it's really interesting for me because it's nice to know what's going on in the world. Like it's really gonna affect, or it is affecting your situation, because I think you cannot. Can you even teach classes now, or how is it?
I do everything virtual.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach at a high school. And so unfortunately, we're still waiting again on leadership to kind of guide us. And we've gotten, basically the school year is extended. We'll start in September rather than August. And it was encouraged that the teachers take decisions into their own hands.
Oh no.
So I think everyone in Utah feels a bit disappointed by leadership. I think maybe everyone in America feels disappointed by leadership. So it's a waiting game. We also don't prioritize education here. So that is a hard sell when you need, to actually be able to go back. I don't know how it is for all of you. Are you able to go back into the studio?
Like in Germany, we can partially go back into the studio. So we started organizing coffee training again last month, but there's like 10 people allowed in the room, and each person has their own box. And so masks until you're into your box, and then you can only dance in your box. And there's like major hygiene measures, and it's also, we have to keep a certain amount of distance. So like my remount that's going to be in September on stage might be with the entire cast keeping Abstand, so keeping distance from each other, which will make it a very different piece, but we're going to give it a try.
Wow. Nice that you guys can already phase back though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm currently in Croatia and here, so visiting my family, and here in a small surrounding town, there's a dance festival, and I was actually able to watch a couple of pieces live this weekend and participate in a workshop.
That's cool.
After a long time. Yeah.
Are you in Šibenik by chance?
No, in Pula is the Svetin Čenac dance festival in Istra.
Cool. I think Šibenik also had a dance festival.
Yeah, I think it
right?
It was the last weekend. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, but then also I can like relate to what we were speaking earlier. Even like I found it easier to feel immersed in some pieces that I saw online than the ones I saw. I mean, there were great pieces. Then there were also pieces that you don't, you see, and maybe the physicality and the dance is amazing, but it doesn't get to you. Whereas you could see something online or like a recording, and you still, feel like different coming out than you were coming in to watch it. So maybe we shouldn't dismiss this medium thoroughly, or but it's definitely also a different experience just to be there in the crowd and see and feel and I don't know, just share the room with the performers. It adds a dimension, of course. Yeah, and then also there's always things going on anywhere, but for you, Laja, being in America, what's happening? It's very intense, I guess. Can you do you think dance or art should or can you imagine working on a team that's completely separate from what's going on right now around you?
That's such a great question, because I feel for the first time actually we feel it's impossible to not comment in some way about what's going on. I think also what is it Yotam who was with us before? he
Sorry that
said
you.
he said something that really touched me, that art doesn't need to necessarily say exactly this thing or have this exact opinion, but that art can be a catalyst for people to see into a different perspective, to allow imagination, to maybe allow sometimes the conversations I have become so stilted. Is art the thing that allows that to soften or allows that to open up in a different way, because someone's not telling you this is my experience, but you're inviting people into this different world, and maybe because it feels on stage, or I'm not sure what, or on the screen even, which feels very safe, does it allow people to open up their perception? So I feel that it is kind of our responsibility to do that in a way, to comment on what's going on and not say necessarily this is exactly what we think, but these are things that we're observing in our world, and how can we relate these also, maybe not so necessarily exact, but to give certain ideas that could, I hope, or it's my only hope for people to change, that art could be some kind of shaker that could allow change of perspective.
I always find it that I don't know. I always find it that art, the good art, tends to even, how to say, precede the event. It's like almost like a medium for what is about to happen. And I don't know if you analyze some of the, I don't know, German expressionism or like different periods, actually all the periods, there's always some art that is coming before the actual events in the society. And I feel that, I don't know, I feel that it's a little bit of a trap to work exactly with what is happening at the moment, but maybe to see what is about to happen and like what is a potential future could be a little bit more optimistic way of dealing with the situation, because I am honestly afraid that I'm going to see now for like the next half a year dance pieces about COVID. Yeah, it's like hundreds of pieces about COVID. Here you go.
I mean, I feel the exact same. I was just waiting for like all the dances of like, we want to touch, we can't, we want to touch, we can't. And I think like, of course we're influenced by it, but I love that idea that what's the solution, or a possible solution, or what is a future scenario, even if it's not realistically possible. I love that. Send into imagination.
Arian, what are your thoughts on that topic?
Just the church bell is ringing, so I'm waiting for it to stop.
I was having like really loud thunder here before, and I was just kind of like muting myself so it wasn't like taking over. No.
Guys, I'm enjoying this meeting so much, and I'm so sorry that I have to go to another one for a teaching that I have this week.
That's okay. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Also so nice to just actually like talk beyond work and what's going on, and to hear where people are at in different places.
And to know that it will get better, we promise.
I hope.
Agreed.
Let it send into the world, Jasmine. Thank you. Hygin, thank you so much for creating this platform. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I will keep your names on some kind of little online catalog. So I hope that if some lost curator ever wanders into those dark places of internet, then they can find you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. We all do.
Hope to see your work live sometime somewhere.
Likewise. Yeah, in the future that we don't know yet.
All right.
Ciao, guys.
Ciao.
Bye. So Hygin, what's the next event?
The next event
we have in store.
Oh, well, I'm doing those podcasts, and they are really awesome. I managed to talk with some choreographers from Vienna mostly, and you know, if you're interested, like, you can check them out, because I mean the talks are really interesting. So I always like to see.
I saw a couple.
Yeah, it's always nice to see the what the guy, like, what the people behind the work actually are, and I think it's more interesting part. Other than that, yeah, I started working on solo because COVID, no, because no
But
funding.
not about COVID.
No, not necessarily. No, but it's
not
like
not in a direct. I mean, it always comes through whatever you're going through, right? In your pieces, because it's, yeah. But no.
It came about with this idea of I mean, again, that was before COVID, like a year, like half year before COVID. Landscape before catastrophe as a nice like connection of words, and like a potential scenario, potential analysis of a scenario, that what happens before something bad happens, or how is the state. And I started like researching on this, and now I'm supposed to continue landscape before catastrophe, and I'm basically in a studio working about the breath, about the fragility, about the maybe some kind of state of unrestlessness, like restlessness and unpeacefulness, and trying to make it into a work, although it does feel a little bit outdated, like this whole concept. It a little bit feels that it's irrelevant after after the actual catastrophe that we lived through, but still I'm doing it, and still I'm interested to see what happens from it. So I actually went to the studio like already 2 weeks ago, and I started some research, and let's see where it gets. Maybe a new solo number N+1. It's really
Yeah.
it's like, if you have no funding, if you have like no budget for a piece, you make solo. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's funny. I just arrived like this week to Pula, you know, and I was, you know, there was not much going on, and now of all places in Pula, I'm just immersed in dance for the past 3 days or 4, because of this festival. Just watching pieces in the evening, doing workshops in the morning, talking about the pieces in between, you know, like meeting dancers from all around.
That's super cool.
Which is,
I feel like it's like
yeah.
been so long since I sat in a theater. Even though it hasn't been that long, it feels like it's been really long.
Yeah.
Yeah, here in Austria, it's the impulse dance is kind of happening. So it's like a smaller version. So they did like outdoor small version, but it's still like a lot of pieces and a lot of classes that you actually can take. Like everyone has like a meter square around on the dance floor, so they have to stay in the square. But
Yeah, like in Germany.
there are actually classes with like 30-40 people in, so it's like it's pretty nice. So there is this, and they're all for free now, because I don't know, because it's like this.
Everybody lost all their jobs, so
Yeah.
they can't pay for it.
So I love it, because normally input stats is so freaking expensive, and now we have it for free. Of course, these are not like that kind of classes you would get. They're like different kind of classes, and maybe the level of those classes is different, but still nice to like have the opportunity to do some exercise outside, like dance, feel like a dancer, feel like someone connected to the dance world in a way. Yeah. But it's nice, Arian, that you are connecting to your dance self right now, as I understand.
Yeah. Wasn't planned, but yeah, I'm kind of an opportunity horse. So there are workshops, and you know, I haven't been on one, you know, in a long time. So it's just I'll go. You know, it's too good to not to take advantage of it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I feel like people are getting maybe more proactive in their like smaller communities, because like you're stuck here, so you either you sit at home or you do something. And I'm glad to see that some people did something. And yeah, I mean, also you like, this is, you know, this is you not choosing to sit at home.
Well, it's sitting
Or like you're still sitting at home, but you know what I mean.
Okay, Jasmine, can you tell me a little bit more about like your connection to dance? Why you do dance movies? Are there no normal movies to make or what?
No, I mean, my trajectory was being a performer, and now I primarily work as a choreographer. But I've always had an interest in bringing movement and film together in a way. So we started a small production company called Bad Posture Productions that's based in Berlin. And we've just been playing around for many years whenever we can in different constellations, just seeing what happens when we bring movement, language, and film together. So like I said, these guys I met many years ago, and I really liked what they did. And when they were in town, I was like, cool, let's make something happen. So sometimes things are really spontaneous, and sometimes they're like larger, big planned projects or choreography specifically for the lens. But yeah, most of my life is spent doing choreography for the stage.
Well, that's really interesting. Actually, I'm also like transitioning a little bit. I mean, not transitioning, but like venturing into the world of film so much because I find it so interesting. And yeah, it's just camera and movie, like it's always been my passion. But yeah, okay, now I understand. So you're like a choreographer when film, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like my specialty comes from dance, and then yeah, film has been my side passion. But it's endless. There's so much to learn, and there's so many other artists to meet. And I think when people pick up a camera, they think that they can just make film, and then they forget that there's this whole entire art field and a history and a language and yeah, a lot at play there. So
Well, you could say exactly the same about dance and choreography.
yeah, 100%.
But yeah, of course, like you need to know your art form, like as what I think, unless you are super talented, but I'm not. So I think for most people, it's good to know where they are. What's the point of reference?
Yeah, and also about like picking your collaborators. I've been super lucky to always work with like really great DOPs or directors of photography or cinematographers that have the raw skills, and then be able to work together to translate what we want to translate. So I don't actually hold the camera, and they're really good at telling me when my ideas aren't going to work. So that's really great.
Cool. Yeah, nice. So more director, not.
Yeah, definitely more of a director. But same with, I mean, you could say the same about a lot of choreographers now. Like as a choreographer, I'm definitely leaning towards the director side, where depending on the piece, the movement language is really based on the performers who I'm collaborating with on that piece, because I take more of a director's role than a choreographer that chooses the specific language that they need everyone to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not be director, like if you have to combine so many elements on stage. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, unless you have budget, then you're fine. But
yeah, I've been pretty lucky in the last couple of years after I moved to Munich that as a city, it's a place that does have some funding. So at the moment, we're going to be starting on the third part of a trilogy that I've been making. And the last one had 9 performers, and this one, there's going to be 8 people on stage. So that's been really great to have like the opportunity. It's usually like a combination of like actors, musicians, and dancers. But it's nice to get the opportunity and the privilege to be able to use large casts.
funny, I've just been to Munich on this dance platform just before the COVID craze.
Oh yeah.
The Tanzplatform Deutschland.
I feel like I came to see some stuff, but not all of it.
I can network a bit and also see some stuff, obviously. But yeah, like it seems like none of this effort like went into the future after that, because no one was really interested in programming new works. But I have to say that I got the feeling that Munich is quite a good place to be based, financially.
For me, it really has been, and I think it's been really interesting what's been happening in the scene in the last couple of years. So that's been cool.
Nice. So Arian, Munich as an
I was just trying to see if Nika can join, but she's still in rehearsal. What's up with Munich?
It's getting cooler. That's what I was saying. Everyone should come. It's getting cooler.
And there's funding, I heard. No, but what I was wondering now, and also like I was reminded of it now watching the pieces, like that most of the recordings of the pieces are just, you know, a camera put in place, or occasionally someone, you know, zooms in on someone's face in the audience. It's just, and I'm not, you know, I'm like, is this the best format in which to like view? Does this come closest to viewing a performance, or like should it, like, you know, if you were given a camera, if you were, and you needed to like take a whole showing, you know, how would you do it? Because then you kind of get the opportunity to or suggest or present a certain, you know, certain view of the piece. Yeah, I mean, I guess it also adds, you know, it's a piece on top of a piece. But
yeah,
I would be interesting to see what people, you know, to see I mean, I'd say a full length performance when someone, you know, intentionally records it, you know, and not just, you know, to have a recording at some point, because I don't know.
For the funders or for applications. I think we're going to be seeing more and more creativity with that. You know, look, at the moment we're looking at really limited audience coming into our shows. So the idea of multicam, live streaming, you know, but like you said, it's an artistic choice put over top of somebody else's artistic choice. So if the filmmaker is making choices, it has to either be, you know, through the lens of respecting the choreographer's vision, or with the choreographer's permission to make their own choices.
Yeah.
So like when I make films of other people's choreography, there has to be some kind of agreement if I'm trying to stay true to their message, or if I'm going to be able to interpret it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, but even as an observer, you're free to choose your points of focus, right? So this would in a way be like presenting like a one observation point, or just like a one audience member and how he saw it. Yeah, at that point, I guess. I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience, Arian, that it's to film a piece. Once you have made a piece, is so annoyingly difficult, because like I find the focus already being in so many different places. Like when I'm creating work, like I already have focus there, focus there, focus there, focus there, and the media of film like it's just one more thing, and it really needs attention. So it's like one of these things that you can decide if you want to invest in it, like you really need to give all the attention to it. And then it's like usually there's just simply no time for it. Like I would really like need to have a piece ready like a week before actual premiere, and then every 2 weeks, and then film it. Like think about how to film it, like free the mind how to make it, but actually then you're still working on the piece. So I feel like to film a piece, maybe it should be already a piece that is already done and that is already been toured around, and then you can make a version. But I feel like that it's like, from my experience, it's always been this thing that I put as the last thing, because but it should be one of the most important things because it's the way you sell your work and it's the way you present yourself to all the people that didn't see the piece live. But somehow there's always this priority on putting the live show to the best ability and not archiving or
Which I do think is good, because right now I feel like there's a big rush to digitalize everything, and I also think we need to be cautious just disregarding the idea of live performance, because I think it's so precious that we, you know, I'm like, I love film. I could watch, you know, that's like my thing. But on the other hand, it's not the same as being in the room with a live performance. That's a different experience, and it's also a really important human experience. Like, it's an important human interaction to actually meet you. It's nice to meet you online, but when we meet in person, we're going to know each other in a different way. That no amount of Zoom calls, in my experience, can, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't smell you. I don't know. Like, there's just things that, there's information I don't have. So as much as I love film, I don't think we should think that it's a replacement for the live performance.
Yeah, for sure. It's something completely different. Like, that's, a film is a film and performance is a performance, like, for sure. But there can be a film of a performance, and that needs attention, that needs care, and that needs a lot of energy and effort put into, because if it's not, then you can immediately see that it's not. And I think that this is the problem with like recording live shows or recording shows in general. Like, it's really hard. Like, I always find like that one of the best performance recordings are in those places that keep on recording performances all the time, which are like usually the big theaters, like ballet theaters. They know how to do it because they do it all the time. They have like one way to do it, and they have people that are skilled in doing it. They have multiple cameras, and they nail it. But with recording contemporary dance, where it's all more like off and underground and so on, I find it a bit tricky always. Like, how to do it in the best way.
Yeah, I think that the infrastructure of the larger theaters does make a difference in regards to, you know, personnel and equipment. The other day I watched Hamilton. You guys know the musical? And that is a live performance. And it was super interesting because they didn't try and pretend it wasn't a live performance. It was a recording of a live performance, but it was done well. And that was really, yeah, a good thing to watch, to see what worked and what could be used. You're gonna run out of time in your meeting again.
Sorry for that. Actually, yeah, I think we can end up on this. I think that was quite interesting. Thank you so much for joining, and yeah, dealing with those technological embarrassments that keep on happening, even though they weren't supposed to be happening. One more time, thank you for your work. I think it's amazing, and I hope you can go on doing what you love.